Jethro Byrde, Fairy Child. Annabelle's dad had little time for fairies. "Sadly, Annie," he said, "you won't find fairies in cement and weeds, so far as I know." Annabelle had lots of time, and every day she looked. On Saturday, something bounced off the service station driveway and hit the fence, just where the weeds poked through. Annabelle parked her taxi and, with the fares uncollected, she went through to see. There she met a boy, as big as her finger. His wings shivered in the breeze. "Who are you?" she said. He hitched up his jeans, flew onto a leaf and wiped his nose on the back of his sleeve. "Jethro," he said. "Jethro Byrde. I'm a fairy child." What Annabelle saw next made her hold her breath. A roadside hot dog van had dropped from the sky and lay among the bottles and cans. A family of fairies heaved and pushed. "Help us here, will you please?" came a voice from the weeds. Annabelle gently put out her hand to set the van back on its wheels. "Thanks," said the voice. "And whom do we owe this pleasure?" Jethro's dad, Byrde, bowed deeply from the waist. "It means, what's your name?" said Jethro. "Annabelle," said Annabelle. She let out her breath, making Jethro's mum's hair ripple like grass in a windy field. "What a lovely name," said Lily Byrde. She kissed Annabelle on the cheek. "That was one of Offin's not-so-good lendings," said Grandma Byrde. "Nearly at the top of the service station," added Lily. Offin looked cross. "Well, we all agreed to come down for tea," said Offin. "And to feed baby Cecily," said Lily. Cecily was as big as a fingernail. "My mum will make you tea," Annabelle said. Lily's bells and bangles tinkled around her ankles. "We would love to come to tea," she said. "Let's go," said Jethro, and he did a backward air skid over the fence. "Mummy and Daddy, this is Jethro Byrde. He's a fairy child, and his family have come to tea," said Annabelle. "We must make them welcome and make them tea," said Mum. But she was looking the wrong way. "Can you see Jethro, Daddy?" Annabelle asked. I think I can, Annie. I think he's on the fence." "Why doesn't my dad see you?" Annabelle asked Lily. "He's too grown up, Annabelle," she replied. "He doesn't have time for fairies." "Do you have time for fairies, Mummy?" Annabelle asked. "I've got time to make your friends tea," replied Mum. "Or maybe they have a magic wand?" "Can you make magic?" Annabelle asked. The birds shook their heads. "We just make hamburgers," said Byrde. Annabelle gave cake to all her guests. "Your mum's cakes are charming," said Lily. "Enchanting," said Grandma. "Magic," said Offin. They had second helpings and refilled their cups with tea. Only Annabelle's dad left his tea untouched. His fingers moved over his keyboard. Clickety-clack, clickety-click, clickety-clack. Byrde's foot began to tap. He wiped his fingers and reached for his bag. Inside was a tiny fiddle, dark red-brown like a chestnut, and his bow hit the strings. His fingers started flying. That afternoon for Annabelle, time stood still. Offin played reels and he played jigs. Lily danced with her charms and bracelets tinkling like wind chimes. Jethro played a silver whistle, his sneakers sliding in cake crumbs. Baby Cecily slept soundly, while Grandma sang a slow, sad song, clear as a church bell. "No one sings sweeter than a fairy," said Offin. "Unless it's the lark in the morning," Grandma replied. "We must go," Offin said at last. Annabelle's hands flew to her face. "But you can't," she said. "Oh, you can't possibly," she added. "Go? I mean, where to?" "To make hamburgers at the Fairy Travellers' Picnic," said Jethro. "We go every year, and all my aunts go. They all smell of roses and hug me, and they have damp handkerchiefs, and the flies bite me, and it's hot and it's itchy, and I have to run in the races. And I always come last. And the prize for coming last is a silly plastic cup, and I don't want to go." "Maybe Jethro could stay with me," Annabelle said. "We need you, Jethro," said Lily, "to help make the ice creams." "And his aunts, they'll want to see Jethro again. It's been a whole year," said Grandma. "Last year you won a beautiful plastic cup," said Offin. Jethro sulked a bit. Then he said, "Maybe Annabelle could come with us." "I would love to come," said Annabelle. "Please take me with you." Annabelle waited. The Byrde family whispered together. Finally, Jethro took something off his wrist. It sparkled in the late silver sun. "It's for you, Annabelle. A fairy watch telling fairy time." "And time goes slowly by for fairies," said Grandma. "We thank you, Annabelle," said Lily, "for being kind and caring." "To strangers like us," added Grandma. "And for the fairy cakes," said Jethro. "We're sorry we can't take you with us," Lily went on. "But fairies are this size and humans are, well, you're just too big." "Will you come again?" Annabelle asked. The fairy watch fitted exactly round her finger. "I'm sure we will," Jethro replied. "And don't forget to wind the watch and keep looking," said Lily. Annabelle carefully put the van on the driveway. The engine coughed and spluttered. Wild flowers burst from the tailpipe, and for those who had time to look, the small van gathered speed. It bumped over the cracks in the concrete and slowly left the ground like a swan in flight. The van cleared the service station roof and headed out west into the gathering dusk. "Look at my ring, Daddy. It's a fairy watch telling fairy time," said Annabelle. "That's lovely, Annie," replied her dad. He saw nothing, but baby Sam did. His fingers left cake and icing on the glass. "The Byrdes said they were the nicest fairy cakes they've ever eaten, Mummy," said Annabelle. "Oh, thank you, Annabelle," replied her mum. And that night, the watch strapped tightly round her finger, Annabelle saw more fairies. From rich houses, poor houses, caravans and car parks, from under wood heaps and high up in blackbirds' nests, from churches and shop windows and department stores after dark, from mountains and valleys, back streets and motorways, from under hedges and bridges, they rode in the moonlight to the Fairy Travellers' Picnic. And long after she fell asleep, their busy chattering and the buzzing of their wings and their faraway music filled her dreams.